What's up, guys? Welcome to another coffee time with Brent. Hope you've got a great cup of coffee to get your day going. That's my second cup, actually. My day's been going for a while. So today, normally I sit and chill while I talk to you guys, but I got a lot of stuff to get done, and so we're multitasking. So if I look away from the camera a lot, sorry, I'll make sure I talk loud enough, but I gotta make a pie. My wife's friend at church just had a new baby recently. She has a couple other little ones and just came home from the hospital and asked me if I would put together a pie so she could take it out there. Some of you may not know, and hopefully you got all your stuff. If you guys bake or cook, you got your stuff. So I got my flour and a mixing bowl, my measuring cups, I got some spoons over here, and my recipe book. One of my hidden talents that some of you may not be aware of is I cook. I've been cooking my whole life. I was blessed very much so to grow up in a family where we all cooked a lot. I grew up with my mom and my grandmother and my sister, but my dad and my brother can both cook very well. My dad actually did some cooking in the military, along with one of the many other things he did in the military. And so I grew up cooking, and I'm grateful for it. If you guys happen to follow my Instagram, my personal Instagram, you'll see I actually cook with my daughters a lot. It's one of my favorite things to do, is to cook with my girls. I want to pass on the knowledge and the joyful memories I have growing up. Dads, get out there, and if there's dads watching this, get out there, cook with your kids. It's an amazing thing. Sorry for the loud bang. I do this usually not on a video, so I don't necessarily, I'm not going to catch all the sounds that I shouldn't put on there, like banging the thing down. I hate leveling flour. Excuse me. But I grew up cooking, and I love to cook, and I'm actually pretty talented at it. Family recipe book. My grandmother made that for me for my 16th birthday, for Christmas. She asked me what I wanted for Christmas one year, and I told her, I said, well, I want a copy of your recipe book, because I'm going to need that eventually. And it hadn't occurred to her that that was something that we would want, so she made one for me and my siblings. And my grandmother was a Christian most of her life, and we lost her several years back, but Granny's still with us, and it's amazing because we have all these recipes that, like, I have recipes from it would be her great-grandmother, so that'd be my great-great-great-grandmother, and maybe on that. I have recipes over 100 years old in this book. Been using my whole life. It's what I learned to cook on. So, I like to do some cooking, and my wife cooks, but she thinks I do it a little better, at least certain things, so she's nice enough to let me do these things, and I'm gonna step out of frame for half a sec. Gotta get a spoon, forgot that. I'm very blessed that I can share, and I like to share these things with my daughters, and I like to cook for friends. I grew up in a very southern family. Social interaction happened generally in the kitchen. It was the most social room of our house growing up. Still is when I go to visit mom and dad down in California. So there's been a lot going on, guys. I'm going to stop talking about cooking now and get back to the rest of the video. So you guys can mock all you want, but I know a whole lot of guys who don't know how to cook. Teenagers, I'm telling you guys, you can go take classes. If you don't have parents who are, teaching you to cook, go take classes. And I'm not talking about home ec at school. There's cooking classes depending on where you live. And my wife and I have joked about starting my own cooking class. If I had a space, I might actually even do it, because there's just a lot of young people out there who actually have no idea how to cook, and it is one of the most valuable skills you will ever have. So learn to cook, and that way you'll be much more sustainable on your own. You won't be dependent on other people. You guys are going to watch, I use my hands a lot. I did wash my hands before this video. That's very important when you're cooking for other people. But I got a little leeway. You saw me cough. I got a little leeway because I'm gonna bake this afterwards, so it would kill any germs that come naturally by trying not to do that. But hey, learn to cook. It will make you less dependent on other people. It's awesome. But you'll see I use my hands a lot, and I use a fork a lot when other people might use a whisk or something, because I grew up doing it that way. Like I said, grew up cooking with my grandmother and my mother, and like I said, very southern farm family. My grandmother had a farm with my grandfather down in Texas, and just the way I grew up doing things. We didn't have whisk. A lot of the kitchen tools that you guys see all the time weren't as common when my grandmother was growing up, so she did everything with a fork, and so I learned to do everything with a fork and with my hands. And just make sure I wash them a lot. Alright, back to not cooking. So, I got my handy dandy little fork. Salt. So there's a lot been going on. If you stuck with me this long, you obviously want to hear what I have to say. Either that or you just think I'm mental, or you think it's funny that I cook, because you didn't know that about me before. There's a lot going on, guys. It's just been kind of crazy, actually. If you caught my Instagram post, I posted on Instagram. I apologize, I haven't gotten any of the videos from ACP done. But what most people didn't even know, even Dave was not aware. I started getting sick right before ACP, a couple days before ACP. And I've actually been sick ever since then. It has been enough to wreak havoc on my life pretty good sometimes. I've been very low energy and had to pace myself and reserve my energy for spending time with my kids and my wife and going to work. Anything else has been too much. I've been out of the gym for pretty much 6 weeks. I've only worked out. Last night was the first time back in the gym in almost 6 weeks. I think I managed to squeeze in 2 workouts in there that almost killed me, and thus I stopped working out again, because obviously I wasn't as good as I thought I was. But I'm glad to say I'm back on the mend and back on track. That's why I'm filming this video today. I also filmed Faith in a Minute, so hopefully we'll get the YouTube channel back on track. I apologize for the delay, guys, but I'm grateful for your patience and understanding if you're still with us. It's been a rough couple months, or a rough 6 weeks, I should say. And I've got some changes going on at work, so I'm having to shift my schedule around a little bit. Likewise, Dave's had some family stuff to take care of. And so we've just kind of, we've been out of the loop, but we're trying to get back on track. Like I said, I recorded Faith in a Minute today, and I'm excited about that one. I'll tell you a little bit about that. Hopefully you guys will watch that video. Those are my short ones. But, you know, with the health issues I've had recently, and I'm very blessed in general, guys. I'm generally fairly healthy. There are a lot of people who have way bigger problems than I will ever have. But it's been hard for me, because that's a release. Working out is a big release for me. That's how I center myself. It's how I deal with stress and with frustration and stuff like that. So not being able to work out has been a real issue for me, because that's a big outlet for me. And so I've been very frustrated, very stressed out. I don't handle that very well. I'm like you or anybody else, right? I get frustrated and get down and a little depressed, and I'm actually prone to depression. I have to keep an eye on myself and be smart about that, because I tend to be prone to it. Dealt with various times of depression in my life where really caused major problems. So, you know, not being able to work out has got me down, and I have a bad habit of, that's when I try and take control of my life instead of letting God take control. Some people struggle with, when things get good, they tend to try and take more control of their lives because they feel like things are going well, And so they don't turn to God as much, or they try and be like, okay, I got enough God. I'm actually just the opposite. When things are going well and according to plan, and it's actually fairly easy for me to trust God, but it's when things start going bad or having difficulties that I get frustrated and I start trying to take the reins from God and be like, let me do this, God. I got this, which is like the silliest thing I could possibly do. Huge mistake on my part, but is something I struggle with. And so the last several weeks of being challenged where I didn't have that outlet and not feeling up to myself, I couldn't play with my daughters much. We spent a lot of time watching TV in the last several weeks, more so than I'd like to. With them, I try and keep them active and playing. And I came home from work a couple days after ACP and went outside as soon as I got home, I went out and played tag with them in the backyard. And my temperature spiked to like 100 degrees, and I almost passed out on the kitchen table, and I couldn't eat anything, and I spent the rest of the night basically zombified on the couch, running a fever and hacking up a lung, and it was not a lot of fun. So when things get rough like that, because that's, I know, first world problems, right? I got sick 6 weeks, but you guys may not understand me not being able to exercise and go lift weights for 6 weeks is like torture. Like I said, that is my outlet. That's where I go deal with my frustrations, and it's where I get my head on straight and think things out and work things out. I like the honesty of weightlifting. You've seen Dave and I talk about exercise and weightlifting a lot. It's something both of us are into. I like the honesty of weightlifting because it doesn't care how you feel. I'm a very black and white kind of individual. Weightlifting doesn't care how you feel. You're either strong enough to do it or you're not. When you walk up to the bar, you either are strong enough that day to pick up that bar or push that bar or whatever exercise you're doing, or you're not. But in 2 Kings 6, I'll give the expanded version, what I talked about in faith in a minute. Elijah's surrounded. Another king, he's made enemies, and a king has come to capture or kill him. He's not popular right now with this guy. And so they wake up one morning and the city's surrounded. Thousands of troops, this horde of soldiers have come to get Elijah. And Elijah's manservant is like just losing his mind. Freaking out, he goes running back in, freaking out. And he tells Elijah's like, what are we going to do? And Elijah's very chill about it. And one of my favorite moments in the Bible, so he prays to God that God will, it's a little water, that God will open the servant's eyes to see what he can see. And God in turn does. And they see that the servant sees, the Bible describes it, it's a Steven Spielberg moment, guys. I think it's Steven Spielberg, who's the guy, Michael Bay, Eat Your Heart Out, they got nothing. It's this massive, daunting, terrifying army, flaming horses and chariots surrounding the enemy army. Just waiting there invisibly to obliterate these people who have come to try and take Elisha. God is protecting him. And the servant his eyes were closed to it. He just couldn't see what was going on. And guys, God's always taking care of us, even when it gets hard to see. And that's one of the places where I struggle. Like I said, things get difficult. And instead of trusting that God's taking care of it, I want to take care of it. Because, Brendan knows best, right? That's a joke. And so, sometimes it's really hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel, or when you're going through difficulties or trials. It's really easy to think like we should try and take control and, be like, oh, okay, God, I got this. But That's not how it works. You know, God is there. Sometimes we can't see what's happening. And guys, this is a prayer I've actually prayed before, and that is, you know, God, open my eyes, give me a peek. So, you know, faith is the foundation of our belief system, right? We believe in what we can't necessarily see or touch. We trust. But if we could see it all, just like a Michael Bay movie or Steven Spielberg or whatever, then we wouldn't have to trust very much, would we? And so God's not going to give you the full picture necessarily of what He is doing. But God loves you, and He knows that you are stressed and that you're freaking out and that you're, you know, in a panic. And He sees that, and He loves you, and He wants to do things about it. He wants to care for you. He wants to... Kira, go lay down, babe. Sorry, my dog. Go lay down. And so sometimes, if you pray for it, God will give you a sneak peek, guys. He'll open your eyes. And like I said, I've done this several times in my life, where I just could not see what God was doing. It was just out of my range of vision. And it's okay to ask, alright? Sometimes we get this crazy idea that God is going to be mad at us because we doubt or we struggle or we ask for help. And that's not the case at all, guys. God knows we're going to struggle. God knows we're going to freak out some, and so you know what? God will open your eyes sometimes if you ask, just a little bit, a little sneak peek, so you can see what's coming and be reassured and be comforted that He is still in control. And that's awesome. That's really important, because can you imagine if He would never do that? That would be just horrible. If we just had to trust completely all the time, I mean, let's face it, guys, we all struggle with that. That's if you're sitting there thinking, I don't struggle, you're lying to yourself, guys. We all struggle from time to time with trusting. If we didn't, we wouldn't be human. It's just a fact. God gives us so much sight, guys, but He knows we need reassurance. He knows that we're scared. He knows that we're going to struggle. So don't kick yourself too hard for it, guys. It's hard. You still need to try and trust God. I'm not saying that by any means, but don't kick yourself and think you're a failure or think less of yourself because you struggle sometimes with that, because we all do. Anybody who's been a Christian for any length of time will tell you, at least if they're honest, that everybody struggles with their faith from time to time, guys. And that's okay. It's just part of growing as a Christian. It's going to happen. We are ready to roll out our first pie crust. But, so, that's what Faith in a Minute is about. But, guys, there's so much more going on. Our world is kind of crazy right now. This is exactly what we were talking about at ACP, right? If you're old enough to vote, hopefully you just voted for midterm elections. I'm not going to tell you how you should vote. Your faith will tell you that, and if you let it, and you know, that's not for me to question or decide. I'm not going to tell you about how to vote or what to vote or anything. We're past that anyway. But unless you've had your head stuck in the sand, you're aware that we just had the midterm elections for the U.S. And guys, it's exactly what we were talking about at ACP. It is a trying time. There's a lot going on in the world, and there's some scary things being argued and debated and fought over, and it's kind of nuts. To be honest, it's a little crazy. I am sometimes just blown away at things that come up that are just like, I can't believe we're even talking about this or that we're voting on this. That seems just silly to me that this is even a question. But in today's world, it is sometimes. Ooh, sorry, that's loud. I can't edit it out on the video. And I do these raw format, you know that, if you've been watching these. So, sorry for the bangs. Like I said, I'm not used to having an audience while I prep pies. But guys, you may or may not be settled with some of the results of the elections. There's just a lot of hate. It's really uncomfortable. I don't understand all of it, to be honest, and I wish I could tell you I did. I wish I could give you an explanation on some of it, to be honest, because there's just a lot of strange questions and things going on in the world. People are doing strange things. And so, all I can say is God's in control of our nation, guys. I know it doesn't necessarily feel like it sometimes. I know sometimes it's scary. Wow, that's just rolled out badly. But God is in control. And hopefully that brings you some comfort. And you may be really happy with everything, how it turned out. I don't know. You know, like I said, that's up to you. I'm not going to tell you what you should and shouldn't think. But it is, you know, maybe you are, maybe you aren't. However that works out for you, just trust God's still in control, guys. And you are still the front line. You are still the ones who are going to make a difference for God in this world. I'm not talking about politics-wise. Maybe you will be part of that, maybe you won't be part of that, but in God's world, for what's really important, which is, ooh, let's go water. What God is doing in this place, in this world, you're the ones who can make a difference. You're the ones who can reach friends. You're the ones who can lead the way in showing people that God loves people. God wants everybody to come home. And He knows that not everybody will, but you guys are the front line of trying to fix that. How you interact with people, how you love people, because that's what we're called to do. If you paid attention to ACP, right, you got that point, hopefully. We are called to love people. That's what we are as Christians. We're not called to judge. We're not called to tell people what they should do. We're called to lead by example. We are called to shine the love of God on the world around us and live a life as much like Christ as possible, to show the world who God is, that He loves them, and that He wants them to come to Him. Guys, y'all are the line. So no matter where you landed on this election, on midterms and the different laws that are coming about, know that God is in control. It's still His world. We are still His people. And He will still make the way. And so, you know, that's... my pie crust is not going well. It's because everybody's watching. Oh. Da-da-da-da. Murphy's Law, right? If you guys weren't watching, it would be just going fine. I'm kidding, it probably wouldn't. It's been a while since I made pie crust. But guys, all seriousness, you're the front line of things, you know? There's so much going on. The best thing you can do is to be Christ-like. Love people, no matter who they are. You don't have to like everything. You probably won't. That's okay. Not everybody's gonna like what you do either. That is just fact, guys. It's almost impossible to live in a way that everybody's gonna like what you do and choose. But you guys are the ones who can make the world a better place by reflecting Jesus. That's what we talked about at ACP this year, and I'm thinking that maybe where I in this video, excuse me. It's getting kind of long. Go out and do something great today. You know, love people for God. That's probably the greatest thing you can do. But go out and do something great today for someone for no reason other than it's the right thing to do. It's a good thing to do. And it's what God wants you to do, is to love people. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for making pies with me and having a cup of coffee. Until next time, we'll see you soon.